Hi everyone, Raptor here. Today I'm going to be making a video on my recent challenge victory with Storm. Uh, I got first place in the last Pauper challenge this past Sunday, August 1st, and it was awesome. I know a lot of people are sick of Storm, I totally get it, but getting first place in a challenge is not something that happens very frequently, and I want to talk about it. In addition to the challenge and the replays and all that, and how the tournament went, I will also be wrapping up the video discussing what I think needs to happen in Pauper. I'm aware of the boogeyman in the room. A lot of people are sick of the current format. They want bans, they want change to happen, and I agree. I think Shatterstorm probably should go. I know a lot of people were hoping that it was going to go in the last ban announcement, but unfortunately, that did not happen. Um, I'm going to talk about what I think does need to happen specifically. I think Shatterstorm needs to go, and you probably need something from Affinity, but I'm less certain on that. I'll talk more in depth when we get to that in the video. But for now, I'm going to talk about the tournament. I'm going to talk about the games, and we'll take it from there. So first off, let's talk about my net list. When it comes to Storm, I would argue at this point the net is pretty well tuned. When I first started tinkering with Storm, I went a totally different route, which was blue-red. And I think the card that I missed, when I was first assessing Storm, is Yamato Relay. I'm gonna get the preview plane open here real quick, just kind of make things a little bit nicer. Whoops, I don't think I clicked it properly. There we go. I'll make this animate so we can talk about it. I made a video on this card recently, and this card is so good. It is the reason why Storm is as powerful as it is. When I was first brewing with Storm, a lot of people, myself included, were not playing this card. And they were playing the Flatland builds that were just on Shadow Storm and just on First Name class, and that was really bad. And when I was tinkering with it, I realized, well, it's not very consistent. It's kind of all in. I would rather be on cantrips and be more consistent and have cards like It and Rouse to be more resilient. And when people started playing Electronic Relay and putting up results, I started to notice, and I was like, holy cow, how could I miss this card? And I think it's just due to the fact that on the surface, the fact that you don't get the card immediately makes it seem not that great. But what you fail to recognize is that Storm is so fast that you're firing this off on turn 2, turn 3, right? You're doing it very early in the game, and if you have two of them, you're drawing like 15 cards. When I played Storm in No Ban List, the things that made it powerful were the fact that it had access to cards like Gush and Treasure Cruise. And without Galvanic Relay, all the Storm builds were pretty bad, because they didn't have a lot of card draw, they didn't have a lot of card selection, outside of the blue-red version, and even then, the blue-red version had to play cards like Ideas Unbound, kind of had that critical mass on the combo turn. Galvanic Relay is just better than all those cards combined. It's better than Accumulated Knowledge, it's better than Ideas Unbound, it's better than Words of Wisdom. This card is insane. I've talked about it a lot in my last video, but it is the glue that holds this deck together. So, the Jean version is the best one, in my opinion. It can take full advantage of this card. It has all the fast mana. When you go off with Relay, you're gonna have mana for the following turn. Like, I think this is the best shell, so I would argue that for most form builds, they're gonna be playing all these cards here. Everything here. You're gonna play Geothermal Crevice because you're on colors and it's on Setland, and then you're gonna play Fort Peatball, you're gonna play for Sandstone Needle. In my opinion, you have to be on these lands because, once again, Galvanic Relay is the following turn, and I don't want to set all my lands on the combo turn and then have no mana. That is how you lose a lot of games. So, having the sat lands kind of reduces that as potential, and they're also really good with cards like Sign and Blood. For the mana fixers, we have Lotus Petal, Chromatic Star, Metamorphose, pretty standard. For the rituals, we're just playing the best rituals in the format, also pretty standard. We have our win conditions here, and then we have Yalmonic Relay and Night's Whisper. That's pretty standard, not a ton to say there. In terms of what I did, so there's normally about 8 flex slots in Storm. I played 2 lands, 2 swamps as my basis of choice. The reason why I did this is because and why I went to 14 lands, which I know is a little bit high for Storm, is because I really do not like missing my land drops. Whenever I play Storm, if I have an opening hand that just has 1 land, I will oftentimes have to really consider if that's a heapable hand. If it's something like Peatball and Silent Blood, you can make the argument to heap it. But if it's like a Geothermal Crevice and that's it, most of the time you cannot heap those hands. Those 1 land hands are pretty bad, and they're kind of gamble, and you really have to know if it's worthwhile. So by upping the land count to 14 and having 2 basics, I made myself resilient to hate cards like Cleansing Wildfire, but more importantly, I upped the land count so I can, you know, guarantee, or rather increase the odds that I hit my early land drop, which is really critical in Storm, in my opinion. Uh, Outside of that, I'm on 3 copies of Silent Blood. Um, this is kind of a flex slot. Some people play a Faithless Looting here or there. They'll sometimes play Ransack the Lab. I really just wanted the card draw. I wanted the raw density. Um, and so I'm on 3 Silent Blood. Most of the time, I'll see people on 2. I went to 3 because I felt like this card is really, really good, and against the fairies decks, you always want to maximize your draw 2 effects. I'm not playing the full 8 draw 2 effects because you are losing life, and that can be kind of a problem, but I think 7 was the sweet spot for me. I played 1 Chromatic Sphere because I wanted to have another kind of mana fixer, and it also helps keep the velocity in the sense that it can slightly draw you a card. Kind of the 5th Chromatic Star. And then lastly, I have 2 the rest of the main board. I really am a fan of the rest of the main board because it's Urn of the Mirror, it's Urn against Affinity, and it's Urn against Blue Black Fairies. It hits the top 3 decks, and it's amazing against all of them. It's great against Fairies because game 1 they're going to have hate cards like Echoing Truth and Echoing Decay, and the rest can snipe those, which is really important. Additionally, you time them correctly on the combo turn. What you can do is you can cast it, and they either have to counter it or let it go. And if they counter it, you can sometimes tap them low enough that you can just jam the combo through and kill them. It's really good against Affinity as well because it snipes their hate cards. Like, once again, people will be playing Echoing Truth on the main board, or Dispel, and just being able to snipe that is really nice. Um, all in all, I do think it's valuable to play 2 in the main board. I'm not a fan of playing like the naked Stormnet main game 1 where I have no hate cards, like no duresses. I'd have to hope it works out. I really do like having a little bit of protection in Storm. When I was playing Blue-Red, I was on Drowse for the same reason. Just having a little bit of protection can be really valuable, especially when people are gunning for Storm. And let me tell you, people are prepared to beat Storm. So, really big fan of this card. In terms of the sideboard, I have 3 Seal of Fire. I thought about this card a while back, because the there was a time in Pauper when the metagame was all about Blue Black Elmer and Boros Monarch. Specifically Boros Bully, with Modern Hearts and stuff like that. This was a time when cards like Foil, Gush, Daze, all that was legal in the format. The top 2 decks were Blue Black Elmer and Boros Bully. One of the cards that was really popular in that metagame was Echoing Decay. And the reason why that was popular was because it was very good against the bully token strategy. It could wipe out Squadron Hawks, it could wipe out the tokens from Battle Screech, it could hit multiple Flame Inspectors. It was a really good card. What the Boros Bully list ended up doing was playing Seal of Fire in the main board. And the reason why they did this is because if your opponent plays Equine Decay on one of your bird tokens, you can sacrifice Seal of Fire, targeting that token, and kill it. And then that way, when Equine Decay resolves, it has no target, and it doesn't kill the rest of your tokens. I'll pull up Equine Decay for those who are not sure what that card does, because I think this is an important thing to illustrate. So here's Equine Decay. So what you end up doing is you make this have no target, so it doesn't kill any of the other creatures. And so it's essentially kind of like a Pyro Blast that can hit Echoing Decay. It also works on Echoing Truth as well. And so for a while, people were playing cards like Gutshot because it hit Heartland Shaman. Uh, and that makes a lot of sense. I was on that as well. But other people started playing Seal of Fire, and I remembered people playing Seal of Fire in that metagame because once again, it was good at finding Equine Decay from the Boris Bully side. It also was just randomly good. Like, against Tireless Tribe combo, if you resolved it game one, they were kind of in trouble because, like, they couldn't really go for it unless they removed your Seal of Fire, and they normally have to either find the one copy of, like, Apostle's Blessing, or they'd have to, like, be on the version that had, like, he earned the way to Techmo's High Priest, so like be more resilient, but this card was very, very good in that metagame, and it's very, very good in the current metagame as well for the same reason. Being able to kill your own creature in response to an Equine Decay or an Equine Truth matters a lot. At the same time, it can also kill hate cards like Crit Rats, it can kill Heartland Shaman, Martyr of Ashes. It's just a very good card all around, and it's better than Gutshot in the current metagame. I think as the metagame has become a little bit more inbred and a little bit more defined, Seal of Fire has become the card of choice. And I think it's a very, very good card. For Flaring Pain, this is very good against Tron with things like Moment Space. It's just good against Prismatic Strands. You need it. It doesn't come in very frequently because those strategies are not too popular, but you're going to play it no matter what because if you don't, you have no answers to those cards. I have two Weather the Storm. This is just a good card in my opinion. It's mostly for burn, but it does have fringe use cases, and it can get you out of certain spots that no other card can, so I do like it for that. I have two Fiery Cannonade. This is mostly for elves. If you need a sweeper for a certain matchup, Cannonade is what you gotta play. It can catch people off guard, it's just a good hate card. I have the two remaining Duress. This is mostly for the Fairies decks. Anything that's trying to be a control deck, you want to play the full 4 Duress in the post-board games. And then I also have one more Pyroblast, because I realized that having a little bit extra disruption is useful, and the one up Pyroblast definitely came into certain matchups being very useful. I am a big fan of this card. Pest Summoning, Introduction to Annihilation, and Introduction to Prophecy are all standard at this point. For those who are unaware, first day of class has Learn on it, so you can, when you cast it, you have three options. First option is you can literally do nothing, you can just cast it and say, I'm good, I'm not going to do anything. The second option is you can look at your sideboard and find a card that is a lesson and put it into your hand. So that's pretty good, it's kind of like a Burning Wish. But for Pauper. And then the third option is you can just discard a card from your hand and draw a card. Right. So those are the three options. Do nothing, you can discard a card and draw a card, or you can tutor a lesson from your sideboard. So in Connection to Prophecy, oftentimes you find this when you have to kind of go for the combo quickly, and you are looking for Shatterstorm. So normally what you'll do is you'll start going out, going out, going out. You'll play first game class, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna get Introduction to Prophecy. This will give me a lot of looks to try and find that last Shatterstorm, or that last combo piece being a Shatterstorm. It could also potentially find you a lot of Relay, and that works as well. But this is kind of like a tutor effect that you might, or like a spry effect that you might need. Introduction to Annihilation is just a very good hate card. Or not, it's not a hate card, it's an answer to hate cards. This gets rid of cards like Pestilence, Rip Rats, start playing Shaman. It's just a really, really good card. I'm even exiled things like Stonehorn Dignitaries against Tron. I've gotten rid of Prophetic Prisms against Tron to like mana screw them. It's a really good card. I had a one game where I duressed my opponent. I saw that they had Stonehorn in hand. I'm like, well, that's a problem. And they had one Prophetic Prism in play, and that was their only white source. So I actually just actively went like Shadow Storm for like 4, and then I got first aid class, and I Introduction to Annihilation and Prism, hit them for like 8, and they didn't have any white mana for the next 2 turns, and they just died. But it can be really critical in spots like that. And then lastly, we have Pest Summoning. This card is really good because it allows you to combo off without having the necessary Storm Pound. Sometimes you are a little bit short on Storm Pound, but what Pest Summoning allows for you to do is you don't have to have Storm Pound 10 to make, the 10 2-2 Squirrels on Shadow Storm after you first game class. What you can do is you can first game class instant pest summoning. So now what that does is it creates 2/1/1 black and green pest creatures, which then become 2/2s due to first aid class. And it also adds one to the Storm Town. So effectively now, Shadow Storm, if you pass it with Storm Town 8, you have 16 power up Shadow Storm, and then 4 power up Pest Summoning. So the Storm Town doesn't have to be as high. That can be really, really good in certain spots. So this card is definitely That's my list. That's the thought process behind it. In terms of the tournament, I'm going to talk about my matchups for the tournament in terms of the Swiss and the top 8, and then I'm going to jump into the replays. I'm not going to be doing the replays for every match, and that's due to the fact that some of them were not very interesting. And so to make this video a little bit more concise and to reduce sort of the filler, I only want to focus on the matchups that I think were interesting and offer a little bit of perspective to this archetype. So the first matchup was Tron. I played against Methodical. I'm gonna give a quick rundown of all these matches, so a little bit of spoilers, but I'm not going to be doing all the matches, and I'm not even going to be doing all the games for some of the matches because some of the games are just very boring and there's not a lot to say. So for Tron, game one, uh, they had quick Tron into Moments Me, Sunhorn, Ninja all that. I could not deal with that game one, right? So I comboed off, but they had Moments Miss, and I had no real ways to deal with that. So there was like a one turn window where he didn't find a Moment's Piece, he was dead, but he found it. And then I basically, once he went demonic wall, grabbing Ghostly Flicker and he had a Stonehorn in play. So I lost to that. Um, Typically, I consider game one to be favorable, but sometimes if they have quick Tron into a Moment's Piece or like Weather the Storm, there's not a ton you can do. Game two was very interesting. I'm not going to spoil that one, but it was a great showing for Storm, and it really indicated the power that this deck has and how it can fight through so much hate. Game 3 was not super interesting because my opponent missed a number of land drops that got very unlucky, and I was able to kind of sculpt my hand, take my time, and then just kill them when I had all the answers lined up for any potential hate cards they might have. Game 3 was just not super interesting, they just got unlucky, but I will be showing Game 2. So that was round 1, it was a victory. Round 2, I played against Cascade Walls. It might have been Combo Walls, I'm not too sure which version. I think it wasn't Combo Walls because they were on Drift of Phantasms. But it wasn't, I crushed them. I don't blame them for playing Walls. Walls is a very fun deck, but Storm just beats them pretty much every time because we're so much faster. And that's really what happened. There wasn't anything interesting there. I didn't even sideboard for them because I don't need to. Like, the rest is already the card I would want in to board against them, and I already have it in the main board. And I don't really want to slow myself down into, so I just committed and rushed them into. So it was an easy 2-0. That's just how Storm is. Not a ton to say there. Match 3, I'm not going to be doing replays for this one because there wasn't a ton to say here either. I played against Blue Black Fairies, and I ended up losing. I multiplied game one, almost got there, but they just grew a little bit too good near the end. They had enough counters that I couldn't fight through everything, and I eventually lost because of it. It was very close though. Game two, I missed too many land drops. My opening hand was kind of a gamble, but it had a lot of draw twos, and I saw like 20 cards, and I only ever hit one land. So, it's difficult to fight through all their hate when you are so constricted on mana, right? Because when you start going off, they're just going to counter your first ritual, and there's nothing you can do. And if you play that game where they just counter one spell every turn, they're going to win. You have to overwhelm them, and that's difficult to do when you don't have much mana to work with. So, not unlucky, but it happens. So I'm 2-1 at that point. Round 4, I believe I played against, Affinity. Not a ton to say there. Um, I believe game 1, I just comboed very quickly. Game 2, he had enough hate, and I couldn't really deal with it. And then game 3, I just killed him through a Heartland Shaman. Um, yeah. The only really interesting decision about game 3 was that, uh, I had to decide if I should just be aggressive and kill his Heartland Shaman and put him down to like 4 and then give him one turn, like draw something. And this was on, I believe, turn 3, so it would have been his third turn to like draw another hate card. And in my opinion, my hand was not going to get better. And the longer the game went on, it was likely he would have drawn more hate cards and it would have gotten more difficult. And my hand was just not set up to play the long game. So I had to kill him quickly. I did, and I won. So that's really all I have to say there, is that you kind of have to know how to evaluate your hand. Um, for match number 5, so at this point I'm 3-1, uh, I played against Storm, the Mirror, and all I can really say about this is that you have to know when to go for it, whether it's play versus draw. Knowing when you have to just go for it and gamble is really important. I will say that one piece of advice I would give to anyone is, if you are on the draw, oftentimes it is best to just go for it, even if you are likely to fail, if you have the potential to get there. So what I mean by that is, normally it's a dice roll. Whoever goes first is favored, right? Because they're going first. They're on the play. It's kind of like a burn mirror. Whoever goes first and like a rest of mirrors is normally favored. It's the same with Storm. Now, if you're on the draw, your opponent is always one turn ahead of you, right? They go first, and then you eat your first turn. They eat your second, then you eat your second, right? They're always a little bit ahead. And so if both of us, on average, go off turn 3, it's probably best to go off on your second turn if your hand is capable of it. Because if you pass to them on turn 3, they're just going to go off before you ever get your third turn. So sometimes you have to go off a little bit aggressively, even if it's not guaranteed, because otherwise you might never get the shot to go off, and then at that point you might have won, but you never even got the chance to win. So it can be difficult to know. Sometimes you just cannot go off and you have to pass, but you think it's possible. Sometimes I just go for it, and that's what I did game 1, and it ended up working out. Game 2, I do not board very aggressively in the mirror. I know some people, play cards like Echoing Truth on the sideboard, Echoing Decay. I'm not playing those, and my reasoning is that I don't think they're very good in Storm, and they're not very good in the mirror, because they are reactive cards, and the mirror is not reactive. The mirror is, you have to be playing Disruption that is proactive, that allows you to further your game plan while disrupting their game plan. And Echoing Truth and Echoing Decay, they do not accomplish that goal. All they do is sit in your hand, and they're passive cards. Whereas the rest, I can fire that off and take one of their combo cards, and now they can't combo. And so not only is that disruptive, but it's something that you can do that is proactive. And so that's really, really important. So for the sword mirror, all I really do is on the play, if it's both board games, I will hunt one chromatic sphere and bring in one duress, and that's it. I don't do a ton. If I am on the draw, then I will hunt a chromatic spear and a ball ritual and bring in two duress because typically if I'm going to be a little bit slower than they are, I want to be disruptive. I want to be able to make it so that if I can duress them, they might not be able to go off, you know, as quickly because they got disrupted, and then that gives me enough time to go off and just kill them. So, I board very minimally in the mirror. So there was not a ton to say about the mirror. It was not super interesting. Um, I just I boarded very minimally, and when my opponent went off, I believe they boarded in an Etwin Tooth, and it just sat in their hand. And then when I went off, I dressed them. I saw the Etwin Tooth that wasn't doing anything, and they also fizzled, by the way, and some of the cards in their hands were Etwin Tooths. So, um, if those were other cards, you might have been able to keep going and heal me. But they got a little bit unlucky. Uh, but, all I really did was try to rest them, and then I comboed off the Yamato relay. I was guaranteed to win. Next turn, they went off. They fizzled. I finally went off on the Yamato relay turn. I arrested them. I see they have that increase, and I'm like, well, that doesn't do anything. So I'm just going to take that and kill you. So, bottom line is be proactive. Do not be reactive in the storm mirror. That's a big piece of advice. And it wasn't inherently obvious either. Like, if you look at my past storm videos, I had cards like Etwin Tooth and Etwin Decay in my storm sideboard. And this is not something that I think is immediately obvious. Like, I made that mistake as well. And you kind of have to like play enough matches and storms to kind of like realize, oh, I should be proactive. And that to me is not it wasn't inherently obvious. So I'm not faulting my opponent or anything. Like it's totally understandable like why they would think it's good, but it's one of those things where you gotta play it enough times to like really get a feel for it. And that's my thought process. Well, at this point, I am 4-1, going into round 6, which is the last match of the Swiss, and it's against Blue Black Fairies. Not a ton to say here. Uh, I just did not go. I did not go off. Very, very close games. I think I played it patiently. I think I played it well. It just did not work out in my favor. I'm going to be showing one of those games because I think it is interesting. But did not work out in my favor. So I ended up in with a record of 4-2 for the Swiss. I was not expecting to make top eight because you really had to go 5-1 or better to like be guaranteed. And if you were 4-2, you had a hope for tiebreakers. I thought my tiebreakers were pretty bad. I got lucky. I squeezed in at 8th place, and then I got the top eight. Top eight consisted of 5 fairies players, specifically blue-black fairies, 1 mono-blue delver, 1 pestilence, and then me, the storm player. For the quarterfinals, I played against fairies. The Mere Fairies. So I played against Oscar Franco, very, very solid Magic player. I'm going to be talking about that, so I'm not going to spoil too much, but it was a very interesting match. Um, I won that 2-0. Second, match for the top 8, the semifinals, playing against another Blue series. That one was less interesting, um, but there was one game in there that I thought was worth talking about, so I will be showing that. And then lastly, um, in the finals, I played against Ryuk on Pestilence. Um, Going into the finals, we agreed to have a split. Um, so what that means is basically we'll just play it out for fun. But we're gonna split the prize money, right? You are allowed to do that if it is the finals of a tournament. You are not allowed to do that otherwise. We were both in the finals, so it's totally acceptable. The reason being is that if I did that in, say, the semifinals, that would mean affecting the outcome of someone else, and that's not fair. Whereas if it's just the finals, it only affects us, so, that's totally fine. So, uh, you know, we only split in the finals. It's totally okay. Um, and yeah, we played it out for fun. So I ended up winning. We didn't play it out. But you know, I'm an honest, I'm an honest match player. I still upheld my side of the bargain, and I split the prize with him, even though I won. Right? I could have been a mean person and dishonest, but I agreed ahead of time to split. I'm gonna be a man of my word. I'm going to split. Um, but I did end up winning, and there were some really interesting games there as well that I want to talk about. So to recap, in terms of games I'm going to be showing, I'm going to be showing a Tron game from the Swiss. That was really about it. You know, half game, not very interesting. Looked like various matchups in the Swiss were not super interesting. I think actually I'm going to show one of the bootlet various games, the Swiss. Um, yeah, actually I think I will, because it was interesting. So, I'll be doing Tron and bootlet various from the Swiss. I'll be doing, uh, both bootlet fairies and the pestilence on the top mate for a total of 5 matches, or rather, 5 games from 5 matches that I think are interesting. So that's just kind of a recap of the challenge, and yeah, let's hop into the games. Let's see them in action. All right, so we are back for the first game that I will be showing. This is match two, or rather, game two, against Masonic Elentron. Masonic is a great Pauper player, by the way. Um, he has great content as well, so check out his channel. Um, but this is game two. So, in terms of how I boarded, I took out 2 Ball Ritual, Fine and Blood, and Hermetic Spear. I brought in 2 Duress and 2 Flaring Pain. Uh, I don't like to board a lot in Storm. I normally go about 4 as my maximum because you need to keep velocity, you need to keep the consistency that comes with Storm. You don't want to get into a spot where you grind all your hate cards and you can't do anything. And so I already have 2 the rest of the main board, so going up to, you know, 6 cards that are not, you know, combo cards can be kind of tricky. But I need Flaring Pain because I have Moment's Peace, and I need the rest because it can snipe counter spells, it can snipe Echoing Truth, it can snipe Weather the Storms. You need to have it. So let's start it off. Well, this is my opening hand against Tron. I believe I heat this. We'll see. Yes, I heat this hand. This hand is definitely a gamble, no doubt. However, it does have potential. If I draw a Shatterstorm, this hand is pretty close. I could see a potential kill on turn 3 if my draws are very good. What I could do is I could, you know, like, ritual, you know, maybe like a Sign in Blood, you know, into first game class, you know, Stormhound 5, get past summoning, you know, play something else, past summoning, you know, or Stormhound 7, and then Shadowstorm, Stormhound 8, and kill them. The hand is, you know, not bad, but it's not super explosive at the same time. So there is a gamble there, but the main thing that I like about this hand is that it has mana. I have the land drops to make. I really am not a fan of matchups where my opponent has a lot of disruption and I'm not hitting my land drops. Because that means I need to heal them quickly or I basically cannot win. And that's something really important to know about like how the matchup should play out. They're going to be having a lot of disruption too, so unless I can heal them like on turn 2, it's unlikely that I should, you know, be mulliganing into like the perfect hand. It's just not going to happen every time. They play a tower and they pass. I play Peep Ball here because I might top deck a Silent Blood or a Night's Whisper, and I want to have the mana that has that on time. My opponent plays a Prism here, and this is where Tron can get kind of tricky. Because if they have Tron here, they might play a Bonders Ornament, and now it's going to be difficult, because they would have like a Moment's Peace and an Echoing Truth. It can get kind of scary. So I play the Geothermal Crevice because why not? it's one of the Satlands, and I prefer getting that one out just as, um, yeah, they have another Prism. So now it's getting a little dicey. It's gonna be difficult to go off. Here, I don't even cast Night Whisper. My reason being is that if I cast Night Whisper and they counterspell, that's really bad for me. This Night Whisper is like pretty critical right now. I need it to resolve. And I also feel like if I draw a Galvanic Relay, I want to save Night Whisper for the combo turn. My hand is really well set up to play the long game. It is not well set up to like combo quickly. Now, maybe that's not how I should be playing the matchup, but I just think that you have to read your hand when you play Sword. This deck does not play hard selection, right? That is one of the downsides. We're not playing Ponder, we're not playing Brainstorm. I don't get to kind of choose how it sets up. That is one of the trade-offs, right? You get the best rituals, you get all the fast mana, but you don't get the hard selection, right? The mana in Pauper is not good enough to like allow for that to happen. Um, and so you kind of have to pick and choose what you go with. And in this case, my hand is well set up to play the long game. I don't mind going land ill, land ill, land ill because one, my opponent is not, most of the time against Storm, people are just sitting there with a handful of hate cards. They are just waiting for you to go off. And if you don't do anything, you just keep building up, building up, building up, eventually they're just not going to be able to deal with everything. Not going to happen. They're going to have cards like Fiery Cannonade, which, if you have in a first hit class with Resolve, do nothing. They're going to have Moment Speed, which if you have Flaring Pain, it doesn't do anything. They're going to have Counter Spells, which if you draw enough Duresses, they're not going to do anything. So, I don't mind playing the waiting game. It is a little bit dangerous because they're going to have a Stonehorn Dignitary, which if they run it out and then they start flickering it, puts me in a bad spot, but I don't think I'm beating that if I jam Night Whisper and they counterspell it. So that was my thought process there. Well, they're going land here. They're playing Bonders Ornament, which is very scary. It's not what I wanted to see because that gives them the ability to start drawing cards on my end set. But once again, my hand is just not well equipped to go off. I am all in on this Night Whisper. I cannot afford to let that get countered. I really want to kind of hold that until I have a couple other things to like help me out. So here they're going to play a Moldiker. And it's kind of obvious at this point they have a couple pieces of disruption, whether it's a counterspell and a moment's piece, but I have a lot of mana, and I think at this point, you know what, let's just ask the Night's Whisper. I think at this point, I'm a little frightened about what they might do. I have to start pulling the trigger and get something going. I hit another Sign of Blood. I hit a first name class. This is awesome. Let's keep the ball rolling. So, oh, yes, I don't go for it. Huh. That's interesting. I thought I wouldn't keep going, but I guess my thought process here is, well, I don't hate it, but I don't know if I would have done that in retrospect. But, okay. I guess I'll wait. I'm being very patient here, which is kind of playing with fire a little bit, but, um, I'm trying to think what the thought process here is, and I'm guessing it's maybe I'm afraid of them, like, oh, I think I know what it was. I think I was a little bit afraid of weather storm here, like, if I go off a little bit and I don't kill them, they're just going to be like weather for 20 or something. Like, that could be kind of a problem. I think here I just want to play it safe and not give them a window yet. 'Cause that was how one of the ways that I got locked out game one is yes, it has some giant weather. Well, here I signed up one myself. I play a Chromatic Star and just pass the turn. No, I don't pass the turn. I grant it for read. Okay, alright, let's see where this goes. Okay, I hit another Night Whisper. I think at this point is, yeah, this is when I pulled the trigger. Probably should have pulled the trigger last turn, but I don't hate myself for doing it now. I think I probably should have done it last turn, though. But here, I keep going. I have to keep going at this point, because if I keep waiting and waiting and waiting, it's gonna get really bad for me. Like, try and lock you out. Well, at this point, I'm gonna dress them because I have to know, like, do I need to keep going? Like, how bad is it for me? They unwind. So I'm like, okay, I kind of figured they had a counter spell, but it's getting a little dicey. So here I'm like, okay, let me just Rite a Flame. and then I'm gonna play one first day of class, and it resolves. So I'm in an introduction to prophecy. I'm gonna keep the train going, right? I'm gonna keep the ball rolling. I'm gonna try and find that harmonic relay, because I need these things to resolve. I need to find something. I see Metamorphosis and Whisper. At this point, I'm taking both. Why not? Uh, I'm going to Amal Ritual. They let it resolve. I'm going to Night's Whisper. I draw some cards. I'm going to Metamorphose. I get a duress. I duress them. And I believe here they have a Weather the Storm, which is kind of frightening. And it was what I was afraid of. And this is where it gets a little bit dicey. They have 71 cards, 74 cards. But what I ended up doing there, sorry, it went a little quickly. I play first day of class, and at this point I'm like, look, I need to like draw something here. So I play first day of class, I discard Rite Flame. You don't have to lessen, you can just discard a card from your hand and draw a card. And I hit an Galvanic Relay. So at this point, Galvanic Relay for like, what's the Storm count? The Storm count is 20. So I draw 20 cards, which is insane, and it's why this card is bonkers. So let's see what I draw here. So this is a little bit annoying. I exiled every Shatterstorm. So what that indicates is that I need to heal them next turn. Because I am not going to get another turn. Right? That's not going to happen. So, keep that in mind. I'm not sure how this got here. Did they discard that or something? Let me look. Uh, uh, uh. Oh, they discard that one. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Okay, my bad. I apologize. I am not a good commentator. Um, okay. I apologize. The rest did go through. I just missed that. I apologize, everyone. The rest went through. It has weather in response, which makes sense, and then I put that in truth. Okay, so this is what we're dealing with. We have a moment's peace, which I have the answer to in Flame Paint. They have a fiery cannonade. They've drawn a number of cards off their Bonder tournament, so it's getting kind of tricky. They're going to play a Modifier here to like draw more cards, and then they're going to play Mnemonic Wall, Rami, Netwing Truth. And at this point, they have enough mana to play roughly about 3 spells. So they can play Fiery Cannonade, and they can play Moments Peace and Netwing Truth. So at this point, I need to do a couple of things. First, I need to deal with the Netwing Truth. Secondly, I need to resolve multiple first base class. And they don't have many counterspells in hand last time I checked. In fact, they only have 2 unknowns, right? Or I guess they have 3 unknowns, right? It's like playing the Mnemonic Wall. So they have 3 unknowns. They have an Netwing Truth that we know about in hand, and then 3 other cards that I have no idea, right? So, at this point, I'm going to draw about 4 cards. So I'm going to draw 2 out the Stars and 2 out the Metamorphos, assuming those all resolve. So, how I sequence this turn is I lead off with a Dark Ritual that resolves. Kind of move this around here a little bit. Apologies for that. I lead off with a Dark Ritual. I sat on my lands. Because at this point, I have to kill them. Like, all my lands should just be sapped because I'm not gonna get another chance to heal them, right? All my Shatterstorms are gone. So, I kind of have to do it. This is the turn. So I run a flame, I pedal, I sat my Peepmaw, I sat on my lands. Like, I gotta go for it. I Metamorphose here. Um, I'm gonna Metamorphose again. I hit the first day of class, which is one of the things I needed. I play a star, it resolves. I cycle it. I hit it the rest. And I get another star just to get more information. So at this point, I have the rest, first day, first day. If they have a counterspell here, I am in trouble, right? Because I'm going to arrest them, they're going to counterspell, and they have an Equine Truth. I need to find another duress at that point. So, you know, that's a problem. So what I end up doing here, I believe, is I lead on duress. We'll see. No, I lean on first date. Okay, I think my thought process here was if they do have a counter spell, they're probably going to counter this, or they might consider it heavily. Which, if that's the case, I can then duress them, take away their echoing truth, and then I can first date class into like 4 counter storms that should be enough to kill them. So this resolves, I think I don't even want any of those cards to be honest. I discard a land that I'm never gonna use, so I assigned one myself. I draw a pedal, that's nice. I played my other first date class here. I just want to see if they're gonna counter it. I mean, the other one resolved, but hey, might as well keep going, try and find more disruption. Just earn a peat ball, I believe. Get another pedal. At this point, I'm like, well, I have to go for it. I couldn't find what I needed. Let's see if I get lucky here. And here I thought they had like a weather storm, but they play an Equine Truth on their wall. And then I duress them. I'm gonna get rid of these real quick. And we see that they have moment piece value animate. Well, unfortunately, they didn't find anything super critical. And moment piece here is a dead card because I have Flame Pain, and Fire Candidate is also a dead card because it has 2 copies of first name class. Well, there's nothing they can draw at this point. Um, Especially because of their mana situation. I think maybe what they could have done if they wanted to play this a little bit better is they could have let me the rest of that win truth, and they could have tapped Modern Tournament to draw a card with the hope that they might draw that win truth, but I don't know their list. Maybe they only have one. But that's the only line I could have thought of, and they didn't take it, so now they can't draw anything. I think I just take Fiery Candidate because, why not? And then I start going off, right? Panel, play Flame Pain, plate Shadow Storm, plate Shadow Storm, plate Shadow Storm, plate Shadow Storm, and kill them. Um, the reason why I thought this game was interesting was one, because I had to take it kind of patiently. Um, it's definitely kind of uncomfortable as a Storm player because you sometimes feel like you're not able to win. But I think by kind of being patient and trying to get a giant Galvanic Relay off, I gave myself the best odds of just fighting through all their hate. Uh, Especially if I can get multiple duresses off. Here in this game, I believe I only saw 2 duress, right? I saw a duress here, a duress here, and let me count. One, two. Oh, I saw 3 duresses. Excuse me. Uh, one, two. Yeah, I believe I only saw 3. So I could have maybe drawn the last one, and I would have fought through most of their hate. Um, Maybe I could have brought in the Pyroblast. That is why I have it there, because sometimes having a 5th piece of disruption can be useful. But overall, I think I played this okay. It wasn't perfect by any means, and the fact that I was able to beat them at 74 light is a testament to how powerful Storm has gotten and how bonkers Galvanic Relay is. Like, without Galvanic Relay, there was no way I'm winning this game. Like, it just wasn't going to happen. I don't have enough things. I don't have enough stuff to fight through their hand. Um, but Galvanic Relay was pretty critical there. And yeah, I thought this game was interesting in the sense that uh, I had a lot of decisions on like when I should go for it, how to time things properly. Uh, and I thought, while I didn't play it perfectly, I think I read my hand well enough, and I didn't put myself in a spot where I went for it too early. Because if I did go for it earlier, I would not have gotten the Yamanet Relay. I got the Yamanet Relay exactly, and I think it's one of those things where you have to know when you can wait and when you can no longer wait. Because if you can wait, you're giving yourself more looks, you're giving yourself a higher probability that you do find a relay or shatter storm. But if you go off early, you're seeing fewer cards, and so, you really have to know when you can and cannot go for it, and I do think that is an interesting dynamic in the Storm deck. And it's something I see a lot of new players mess up, and I messed it up a lot. Like, I'm not saying I'm perfect. It's one of those things where if you want to get better at Storm, you have to know when you can and cannot go for it. and that's just something that takes practice. So, but yeah, it was a sweet game. I think both sides played pretty well. Um, and yeah, I ended up winning the match. This was game two. I also won game three, but there's not a ton to say about game one or game two. Those were pretty lopsided. Game one, I just died very quickly because he had like moments me and the Stonehorns and Flickers and all that. Didn't have very many answers for that. And then game three, he just missed land drops. Like, his luck was unbelievably bad, and I just was able to capitalize on that because he couldn't hold up very much disruption because he didn't have much mana. So, yeah, but that is the first game of the Swiss. I will go to Blue Black and talk about that. So I'll see you all there. Right, so we are at for match number three, six of the Swiss, so the last match from the Swiss. This is game number one against Malt, and this was a game that I thought was interesting in that it illustrates a lot about how this matchup plays out, and that it's still very close. This is my opening hand, and it's a pretty good hand. I felt pretty confident going into this that my hand was going to work out. I like this hand. I definitely keep it. I'm going to lead out on a Shield Thermal Crevice and pass the turn, and I believe they have a turn 1 fairy here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so the turn 1 fairies here, they're going to start scrying, they're going to start setting things up and get the ball rolling. Here, I believe I play a Chromatic Star. I'm not going to, like, pedal a Sign Blood. I don't think that's a winning line, because you're losing mana, and I don't know, I think you really want to kind of build up resources and try and find things, when you draw them. Um, Not to mention, I was hoping that maybe he could tap out, and then I could cycle this for black, and then play Silent Blood, so that way, I'm not losing any resources. I'm building up a hand. Whereas right now, it's pretty obvious that they have Spell Stunner up, or at least I think they have Spell Stunner up. And because I'm not hitting my lands right now, and because I am kind of constricted on mana, it's difficult to want to go for it. I think a lot of people might look at this and say, "Oh my gosh, I can go like Petal, Rite of Flame, Silent Blood, Yamato Relay," and like maybe, assuming that all resolves, but if they spell Stutter anything, like if they spell Stutter Rite of Flame, that's a problem. Not to mention, if I do get to do all that, I'm only in a relay for like 4, and I'm only going to have 1 land in play. That's really bad against the Fairy's deck. Typically, when I relay, I want to have a lot of mana in play, right? Normally, that's like about 3 or 4 lands. Because at that point, if I have enough mana in play and I have a lot of cards, they can't really stop me. I'm gonna get to keep going up, keep going up, keep playing spells. Whereas if I only have like 1 or 2 mana sources, they're just gonna counter my first 2 spells, no questions asked. Because then I can't do anything anymore, and then I just lose all my cards, right? It's kind of like, if they can bottleneck you, then you just lose everything. And so, going for it here is not appropriate in my mind, and also casting the Silent Blood is not a good idea, because if they spell stutter it, that's really bad for me. So it's kind of tricky. It's really tricky here. You could argue that maybe I should try and go for like a Shadow Storm, but I don't know. I just don't feel like right now is the appropriate time to go for it, so I just end up passing. They draw a land here, and they play a Preordain, which is not good for me, because it means they're going to get to hit more land routes, they're going to get to do more things, and it kind of a little bit dicey. So, I'm really hoping they tap out and all, and they don't do it. I do hit a first name class, but I'm still kind of constrained on mana. I'm not going to cycle the Chromatic Start just yet, because I don't think it's appropriate, but they end up playing a Brainstorm here, which is a very good card. They're going to have to draw 3, put 2 back. I will say, I have never been a big fan of the ELT Brainstorm. I think it's typically a bad line. However, I've seen enough people do it in Storm that it makes sense to me why they would do it, because against Storm, you have to keep up all your mana if you can, because if you tap low, they get to start doing things and you can randomly die. Like, it's not unreasonable to say, well, oh, if I also cycle Romantic Star then play Silent Blood, maybe I mean, my next 2 draws are pretty good. Maybe I could have killed them. So, um, you have to keep up the mana. You have to have that bluff, even if you don't have it. So, it might not have had a Spell Stunner, but if they did, it would be problematic. So, they have to kind of keep up as much mana as possible. And so, here, they really have been bluffing Spell Stunner, so I kind of have to respect it, right? I don't think I'm in the position to call their bluff. So they cycle the island of Ash Barrens on the turn, which makes sense. And now you can see this is starting to kind of uh I'm starting to kind of lose this. It's starting to slip away. And that's because they're hitting more land drops, they're gonna have more mana, and I'm kind of in a tough spot. Here I play a Lotus Metal with the hope that they might counterspell it, but they're too smart. They know just to let it go. Oh no, they do actually counterspell it actually. No, they spell Stunner. Okay, never mind. Well, yeah, never mind. I think I'm thinking of a different game, but they don't take the bait here, or rather, they they just play the spell Stunner that I thought they had the whole time, which makes sense. Because like if I'm playing that, it kind of indicates I don't have a land drop. But at this point, I'm like, well, let's just arrest you and see what's up. Well, they have. Oh, sorry. Let's pull this up. They have. I'm gonna move this one real quick. They had a counter spell, which I took. Spell Sun is right. Edwin A and Ninja. Now, I think maybe I should have taken that Edwin A, but I took the counter spell because in my mind, if I can, in a couple first days of class off, Edwin A is not going to do anything. And if they have multiple counter spells like Spell Stunner and counter spell and all that, it's going to get difficult. Not to mention, if they get to ninja this, which they will do at some point, if they're gonna have like land, ninja this, they're gonna have triple counter spell. They're gonna spell stunner, counter spell. I'm not gonna be able to fight through that. So that's gonna be kind of difficult. So yeah. Um I'm not really able to resolve anything because once again I am bottlenecked on mana. So it's starting to slip away a little bit. I play a Lotus Metal here. I set just kind of try and keep things going. I do hit a land, which is nice. I play a relay here, and Storm Pouch 5. The reason why I went for the relay was because I believe my thought process here was that if I don't do anything soon, they're gonna have enough like kind of stuff built up that I'm not gonna really be able to fight through it. So I got lucky to hit the land here. I have like about 3 mana with the sources, so hopefully I can draw what I need. But it is kind of tricky. Like, I am kind of in a dicey spot here. So they play a spell fighter, which is interesting, but understandable. And they counter one of my relay copies, which is actually kind of brutal, because I do need everything here, but once again, they're a very good player, they understand what matters. I hit a Night Whisper, a Manamorphous, and a Silent Blood, and a land. So, not great, but could have been worse. Um, but now that you have to hit me with a Ninja, draw it hard, and Spell Stutter me, so, it's gonna be tricky, for sure. They play a fairy, and so now it's clear they're only going to have one piece of interaction, but their spell slot is going to be online no matter what. I can't deal with that with duress, unfortunately. So I'm gonna kind of get rid of the preview pane here for a second, a little bit distracting. Well, their hand is relay. This is a spell stunner. We're gonna pretend that's a spell stunner, and I believe they played a land. So we actually know most of their hand. We have perfect information. Um, but it's difficult to find a proper sequence here that can work. But I believe here what I end up doing is I want to resolve a Night Whisper. The reason why I play the Night Whisper, not the Metamorphosis, is because they counter the Night Whisper, it sucks. But I would much rather they counter that, because if I play Metamorphosis and they counter it, then I'm in really bad shape. Um, because then I can't do anything else, right? Where if they counterspell this, I can at least erratically Manamorphose Silent Blood and keep going. So, you have to know how to sequence things here, but they just let it go. And now my thought process is, well, if I play Rite of Flame here, um, you're just gonna counter it, like 100%. So I don't really do anything. I really want all the mana for next turn, and so now my thought process is, well, it's gonna be very dicey, but maybe I can go for it next turn. It's gonna be tough though. I play a panel, it resolves. I set, I go right a flame, I go right a flame, I go Amalrit, it dispel, and that was the correct play for what it's worth. But I had to hope that they did not have a dispel, but they did. So that was brutal. I play a Night's Whisper here, and I hit a Lotus Petal, which is not the worst. A Sign in Blood, and here you can see how close I was. If they did not draw the Dispel, I would have won this game, I think, because there's no way they're going to counterspell. Um, there's no way they're going to spell Sun at the ball rate, right? Like, there's just no way. They're going to hold it for first day of class. And what I could have then done is I could have played, or what would have happened is I would have drawn 2 more cards, and I would have had a little bit more mana, and I probably would have found another first amp class, and then I could have sequenced it such that I go first amp class, they spell Stunner, your rescue, take your equity decay, and then play the second first amp class and kill you. But I gave myself some good outs here, but it just didn't end up working, and here they're gonna definitely spell Stunner this, like 100%, and now I'm just dead. Whereas had they not had that, it would have been very close. Yeah, so I hit the Man of Morphos, but it wasn't meant to be. Now, I didn't win this game, and I also ended up losing the match, but I think the reason why I wanted to focus on this game was to indicate, like, how intricate these matchups can be, and how they're really, really, really close. Um, it's also why I'm a big fan of main point duress, because that's how we beat setups like that. Um, but, like, there's so many micro decisions that matter a ton. Like, should I have taken the outer spell? Maybe I should have taken that when like 3 turns ago. Like, maybe I should have held the rest entirely. Like, all these things really matter, and you have all these micro decisions that are really difficult to add up. But you kind of have to know, like, when to kind of pick and choose, and you always kind of bobbing and weaving. But yeah, it was a close matchup. It was a really close matchup, and it was a very close game. But all in all, I'm pretty okay with my decisions, and you know, it was close, but it wasn't meant to be. So that's that. That was the round 6. I ended up going 4-2, but we made the top 8 anyway. So let's hop into the top 8. All right, so we're back for the top 8. I'm up against Oscar Franco. They're an amazing player. They're on Blue Black Fairies, and this was my opening hand. I'm on the play. I obviously have to mulligan, and I'm gonna eat this. What do I bottom? I believe I bottom a land. Let's see what I bottom here. I bottom the Geothermal Premise, which makes sense. That's kind of the weakest land. Um, Now, once again, Blue Black Fairies is a difficult matchup, and you kind of have to know, like, when to pick your lane. So here I lead off on the Peat Mob because of my top net, a Sign in Blood, or a Night's Whisper. I want to be able to slam it, right? So they're not going to have it counter for it turn 2. Yes, they're on the draw, or on their turn 1 if they're on the draw. So if I do draw, I want to be able to get a 3-counter match it and just make sure it resolves. Here they go ELT Brainstorm. Once again, it is a weird line, but it does make sense. They want to get their cantrips in now. Next turn, they have to start holding up mana anyways. This really does show how unhealthy Storm is for Pauper. The fact that people have to play cantrips this badly, but it makes sense. It's just unfortunate. So here they shuffle, they play a swamp, they eat a swamp, they play an island, and they play a fairy. So I know one card in hand. Um, and now here's my dilemma. If I do nothing, if I land, I don't know how good that will be for me. So once again, this is sort of the difficult part with Storm in that you don't need a lot of cantrips. You have to kind of pick and choose your lane and sort of pick and choose your spot. I went for it here. It's not how I've been playing a lot of my previous matchups, right? You kinda saw how I was being cautious, trying to really take it slow. That's because I felt like those hands were capable of it, and it felt like it was in the realm of possibilities, like I had a lot of relay in some of those hands, like, you kinda have to play to your hand, but, like, here, it's tricky, like, when I draw the second Shadow Storm now, all of a sudden, it's looking like I'm not gonna be good at going long, because here, I'm just gonna, I don't have any card draw, I don't have any automatic relay, I don't have a first day of class, like, it's just not looking good for me. So my thought process is this: if they're holding up mana, they probably have counter spells like dispels and stuff like that, and based on their brainstorm play, I should probably just go for it, right? If they have an Echoing Tooth or an Echoing Decay, it sucks. But you're gonna have that anyways, and I only have 2 the rest of the main board to fight it. Like, my odds of beating that already are kind of difficult, so why don't I just go for it now, make them have it, and if they don't have it, all their counter spells are useless. Like, their spell stutters, or misspells, or counter, like, it doesn't do anything. So, that's sort of my thought process. I tanked for a while on this, but my intuition was just like, no, go for it. So, yeah, I Metamorphose, I give myself green green, I go Rite of Flame, Dark Ritual Battle, Shadow Storm for 6, and Shadow Storm for 7 for 13 power. And I've said, hey, it's your turn, make your move. They play Augur, they get Counterspell, I don't care. I just turn everything sideways, and I attack them. I'm not playing the Chromatic Star here because I have to lose both my lands, and that's not really something I'm about here. They're brainstorming, they're looking for more interaction, they're playing a fairy, they end up playing an Urmot Angler, which is critical. If they didn't have that, they were dead. But at this point, I'm feeling pretty good about my decision because I'm gonna bring him down to 1. Um, then I get to play a swamp here, and now I can play my star. Like, there's no reason not to. Swamp out doesn't matter. I want to get it through a spell stutter, like, yeah. And turn 5, they die. And I would bet money that their hand was a lot of disruption, right? Like, they played 3 cantrips that game, and they just didn't find it. So, their hand was probably a lot of, like, spell stutters and counter spells and stuff like that. And had I done nothing and waited, they probably would have gotten a fast Sandler and killed me. So, once again, you kind of have to read your storm hands. You kind of have to know, like, what is this hand telling me I can do. And sometimes it's not what you want to be doing in the matchup. Like, generally, I like to take these games kind of slow and be more methodical and play it out. But you can't really do that here. You kind of have to just go for it and make it happen. So that's what I ended up doing. And, yeah, thankfully it worked out. I'm not a big fan of the naked shadow storm lines normally, but sometimes you gotta do it, and here it worked out. So, um, yeah, that was that. I'm gonna hop into match 2, or rather game 2 of this match, and we'll talk about that there. So we're back for match number 2, or rather game number 2 of a match of the quarterfinals. And how did I board? Well, I took out 2 Evolve Rituals and a Chromatic Sphere, and I brought in 2 Duress and 1 Iron Blast. This matchup is all about disruption, disruption, disruption. Typically, they do not have a clock, but they have a lot of disruption. If you can sculpt a hand and get to a spot where the disruption doesn't matter, they're not going to kill you quickly enough. So, that's kind of how it played out. In terms of this hand, I think this is a key. It is very mana heavy. However, if that's how I'm going to play the post-board games and try to be a little bit more slow, that's what I'm going to go with. So that's the hand I'm keeping. Here, I made kind of a dumb mistake. Or no, this was a different match. Never mind. I don't make a mistake here. Here, I get unlucky, I believe. He addresses me, I think, here. Yeah, he addresses me. I was thinking of a different match where I played the wrong land and I couldn't Night's Whisper, but no. Here I just get unlucky. So now you can see now, all of a sudden, like, losing that Night's Whisper was kind of a big deal for me, because my hand was kind of riding on that. And it was the correct hit, like, no questions asked. Like, you take Night Whisperer 100%, but you can see why I play 7 draw twos, like, they're really important, and so, yeah, I don't want that to go away. My opponent here, has 3 cards in hand that I care about. They're gonna draw cards from outs for, but, they don't have a ton going on, so here I'm just going land go because my hand is just not equipped to really do anything. I'm not gonna run on a Nathan Metamorphose, like, I don't mind just being patient. So here I see Shadow Storm. I still don't think I need to go for it. Like, Shadow Storm for 7 is not good enough normally. It needs to be bigger. Like, if it was empty the wards, yeah, I'd go for it, but it's not. So yeah, they brainstorm, like they're dating, they're holding stuff up. Here they're gonna play an Angler. And now I'm kind of under the gun a little bit, because Angler is a fast lot. But here I duress them, I just want to see what they're working with. And this is their hand. So, one, they don't have any answers for Shatterstorm. And two, they have no hand grips, so they can't like look for it. So the question here is, what do you take? My answer is Counterspell. And I might be asking, well, why would you do that? Well, I want them to use both of their blue blasts on my turn. And by taking Counterspell, I give them that opportunity. I only need to resolve one spell, Thunderstorm, and it is going to resolve. But I do want the storm count to be higher, and Blue Blast definitely does that. So I take Counterspell. Also, if I randomly draw like a Night Whisper, I want that to resolve. So I start going off. I'm trying to bait them here a little bit. You can see here I'm playing Metamorphose to really make it, look like an obvious, target. They don't take it, so I'm just like, well, okay, I'm all in. My hand's on the table. I'm already making the move. So, and yeah, I am 9 power. Now, once again, we know their hand. It insists, this right here. I think they play the land. But it insists on these, and I'm just gonna start swinging. Right? Starts waiting for the hills. They're gonna start blocking. They're taking, 7, and then they're gonna take 6, and then they're not even attacking. They're gonna take 5. Now they're gonna like assign and blood randomly. I'm not even gonna play the rest because if they do have a net win truth, it's not gonna stop it. And they don't have anything, and they die. So if they didn't have an X-Wing truth there, they would have played it, Storm Pound 1, I'd arrest them, they spell Stunner, Storm Pound 2 and 3, and then it Shadow Storm for 4. Maybe. I also would have done nothing, and trying to rebuild, right? That's also an option, but I got lucky and they never found an answer. Now, what does that tell us about this, how this matchup plays out? Well, one, look at your hand and try to get a read from your hand. I could have easily lost this matchup, no doubt about it. I think I got very lucky that they didn't find what they needed, but my hands were not well equipped to play the long game. Normally, I try to play the long game. If I can get a giant amount of relay off, you win like 99% of the time. If I can like get a relay off for 10 and then have a lot of mana in play, they normally die. Because what you end up doing is either you kill them or you hit another relay and then like you'll relay for like 20 on the second turn, and like they're just not gonna be that because on the turn you go off with the first relay, you're gonna probably like play Night Whispers and rituals and duress them a little bit. Like you're gonna put them under the gun such that there's really nothing they can do. They have no draws that win. Um, but I didn't see one this game, and if I kept waiting and waiting and waiting, I could have lost. And my hand, like you can see my draws, but not it wasn't gonna work out. So I feel like it was correct to just be like, screw it, I'm going for it. Um, well, yeah, and the tough part is they could not have Spellstone and Mighty Rest. It doesn't make sense because if I had the first day class, they were just dead. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough, is what I'm trying to get at. It's really tough. And I think it goes to show, like, one, how stupid Storm is, but also how this matchup has a lot of depth and there's a lot of things that go into it. So, yeah, that was the quarterfinals. Like, I'm very lucky to meet Oscar. He's an amazing player. Congrats to him on making top mate. And yeah, let's hop into the semifinals. All right, so we're back for the semifinals. I'm on the draw, and I like this hand. Now, what does this hand tell me? Well, I'm going to be playing the long game. I have Peatball, I have a Night's Whisper, I have the Harmonic Relay. We are going to play the long game, and we are going to be very happy with that. So, that is what I end up doing, and yeah, it's another Blue Black Aries matchup. They play Mowing Wilds, I play a Peatball, and you know, we take it slow, we take it easy. Here I was a little concerned. I thought they might have made more duress, but they're just eating their black source. It makes sense. Here I don't do anything because I don't really have to. It might look weird, like why are you not playing a Night's Whisper? But my reasoning is that one, if I play it now, I'm gonna have to discard it hard, and two, I want to save it for the relay turn for Stormbound. So once again, it's not always obvious what the correct play is. Like, it's easy to want to say, oh, just play the Night First or draw two. They can't counterspell it. But here, it would have been wrong because if I like went for it here, I'm putting myself in bad shape, right? The reason being is if I go Night Whisper and then I go like Lotus Petal, Lotus Petal, Lotus Petal, right? If I mana Morpho, like I'm leaving myself with no red mana or green mana, and if I don't draw like a Chromatic Star or something, I would lose. So you gotta be patient. You gotta really think it through. Like, what could I hit with the relay? How do I fail? How do I make this a disaster? Like, being patient with relay is often the correct thing to do. Because relay, the longer you wait, the stronger and more powerful it gets. Well, here I think, okay, let's max Whisper. They're not gonna counterspell it. I hit another land, which is fantastic. Right, I now have a red source. Uh, I start playing more lands. I think I play a Dark Ritual here. I play a Rite of Flame. I play a Metamorphose. I get green here just because. I play a Chromatic Star. And I crack it because why not? I hit another first day of class. I'm not gonna waste first days of class. I think that's incorrect. And I just relay for 9. I think I played this very well because now not only have I drawn 9 cards with relay, I have a ton of mana in play, which is super critical. So I hit a Metamorphose, a Dark Ritual, a Shadow Storm. Like they're dead, right? Like this is ideal. This is a perfect setup, right? And you can see here, I start going off, and they're gonna concede it pretty quickly. Like I duress them, and they have Counterspell, All Ear, Echoing Truth, and Echoing Decay, right? But that's what the Echoing Truth is. I can't deal with that, right? I have no answers. Well, I did have an answer. It was a duress, so I took it. But I don't care about Counterspell because I have I have every first day class, and I don't care about Echoing Decay for the same reason. I have every first day class, so here I'm going off, you know, doing my thing. And at this point, I'm not gonna play the Sign of Blood. I don't have to. I'm just gonna start jamming first day of class, jam another first day of class, and they concede. Just they know the writing's on the wall. If they counterspell this, they're dead. If they don't counterspell it, they're still dead. Like, yeah, there was no winning. So I would have played that first day of class, and I would have played another first day of class, and I would have played another first day of class, and you know, I would have whacked them for like, you know, 5/5 squirrels, like, yeah, there's no way. I also could have hit and made a 3/3 squirrels, but, um, yeah. You can see, though, that relay is insane. Like, the games where I get to relay are so much better than the games that I get to have to, like, go for it naked. And, once again, you can kinda see how this matters a lot, right? Like, you kinda have to read your hand. Last match, I had to go for it naked because my hand was just not building up correctly, and I was just like, well, screw it, I guess I have to go for it. And waiting was a mistake. But I got lucky. I definitely got lucky. There's no way around it. But um, you have to read the hand. You have to know like what the optimal line is, even if there's not a potential that you know it'll work, right? Even if there's room for failure, sometimes it is just the best line. In this case, though, Yamada Relay is insane. It is so powerful that it invalidates so much stuff. Like it's basically a draw harness form. Like it's insane. So yeah, that's that. And yeah, let's go to game two. So in terms of sideboarding, it was the same. I boarded out 2 Cavalry and a Chromatic Sphere for a 2 Duress and 1 Pyroblast. This hand is not at heat. It does look okay, but it's bad. It doesn't have enough mana. That's a bottleneck, and uh, I could get randomly screwed over. Now, if I could see the top cards of my deck, maybe I keep it, but realistically, you're not going to keep this, even on the draw. So I mull it in, and this is much better. I will keep this, and I believe I bought him a first day of class as I have a relay, and that's the game I'm playing. Now, would I get the rest? Absolutely. So I actually duress them here because my thought process is they might duress me. So here I see a pretty rough hand. Um, I mean, it makes sense why they might have this. Like, if they build up early on, um, they can make it work. But I just take a preordained. I don't know if that was correct, but I wanted to how to make their hand really bad and give me more time and give them less time to set up. They brainstorm here. And that was another critical blast. I could have dressed them here. I could have said, whatever, I'm better for you, the rest of you. Well, that would have been bad if I had a brainstorm, but also, like, it's just not good. Like, I'm not going for it right now. If I throw away all my duresses on silly stuff, and then I go for it, like, 10 turns later, they're gonna have a lot more things. Like, you have to know when to pace your hate cards, and that's a really big deal. The first one was obviously kind of a little greedy, but my main reasoning was if they have a duress and it's hit my relay, I'm in bad shape. So I wanted to just be a little bit proactive there. But that was my thought process. Here, I kind of amble. I'm like, they might have a spell center, but if they do, so be it. Um, they don't, so, I just run up the star. The reason why I ran it out there was because their hand was a little weak, so there's potential they don't have spell center, but also if I wait, it just increases the odds they have spell center. It's not like I can really deal with it. Like, I don't have red mana for Pirate Blast, so I'll just run it out there. Um, but yeah, here I just start chilling. They play an altar, reveal suffocating fumes. Um, they play the Evolving Wilds, they play this, like, we know most of their hand. I think they brainstormed away the Ice Tunnel, so this is all we can reasonably infer that they have at this point. Well, I see a Ice Whisper, and, um, I really wanted to resolve, so I dress them here, and they kind of spell me, which makes sense. But I really just wanted my next Whisper to get through, so that's kind of why I made that play. And I had a lane, which is really, really important. The rest wasn't ideal there, but I really felt like I had to run it out there because I needed my next Whisper to resolve. They hit me here, and they have 3 cards in hand that I do not know about. Um, I don't really consider Fumes to be too much of a problem. Well, here I run out of Nate and Manamorphose. The reason being is if they counterspell it, I don't really care. It's one less counter for me, and if they do nothing, then I am also okay with that. Well, here I run out of Manamorphose, I run out of Rite of Flame, and then I just go Night Whisper into Galvanic Relay for 5. So, you know, I reveal another relay, I reveal some more mana. It's, not the best relay, but at the same time, they only have 3 cards in hand that I might hear about. Like, I feel like I'm starting to kind of, like, tighten my grip on the matchup, so I lead off on an arrest here, and this is what they have. They have, they have Dispel, Echoing Decay, Hydroblast, and Fumes is in the graveyard. I believe they cycled it, because it has cycling, so we don't have to care about that anymore. This is what they have. Now, given the fact that they have Dispel, Echoing Decay, and Hydroblast, I have to take the Echoing Truth. I thought about this for a while, and I thought maybe it was correct to take a Counterspell, but that was not right. The reason being is that you can fight through Counterspells with multiple first aid class. You can't fight the Echoing Truth with multiple first aid class. Everything else in their hand is beatable, but the Echoing Truth is pretty scary, and if I never found another duress from Pirate Blast, like, let's say that it was the last 2 cards in my deck, I probably will not win this game with the Echoing Truth, so I have to take it. There is also the option of, like, you combo off, you play Shadow Storm main phase 1, and then the Echoing Truth, and then your second main phase you play another Shadow Storm, but that's always kind of a gamble, and I normally don't like to go for that if I don't have to. Um, So here I, play an art ritual. I play over red here because I play a moderate. I play a star. Play over red. I play a metamorphose. I play a sign. Another moderate hill shore. I play a sign in blood. I play a night whisper here. Then I play a pedal. Then I play a land off exile, I believe. No, I guess I play first in class, which, okay, that makes sense because they're gonna have to probably counter it anyway, so I might as well fight through that now, and it ups the storm count for me. Then here I can play Shadow Storm. Uh, yeah, this all makes sense. I think these are all the correct lines. I have to fight through those counters anyway, so there's really no reason to not force them to play it. They're gonna have to play it anyways. Then I just play a relay. And we just take it from there. So what did I exile? I exiled Dark Ritual, another relay, Romantic Star, Dark Ritual, Sign of Blood First, It Last, Rite of Flame. Like, it's looking pretty good. Problem is I kinda have to go for it next turn because I don't think I'll get to relay another time, because I only have 15 cards in net. I believe how I start out this turn is just with the Dark Rit. It resolves, I Dark Rit again. It resolves, I at a land, I play some petals. Sorry, this is kind of the storm. The sat is kind of getting in the way. Let's move this over here. There we go. I Night Whisper just to get more information. Then I believe I play another petal. I sign up one myself. I hit a duress. And then here I thought about it for a while, and then I believe I play a star. I want to get a little bit more info before I jam the duress. I don't read it again, which is really great. I play another Chromatic Star, I cycle for I think another red. I run a flame. And now I think I duress them here. Yeah, as my thought process was, if I don't duress, and they counter first day class, I might get in trouble with Lightning at Range Truth, so I would rather just duress them now. Well, this is what they have. This is very scary, and this is actually something I would ask the audience or the viewers. What do you take here? Um, Keep in mind, I used all my duress, right? Now, I only have one Pyroblast left, but I have two first aid class and one Pyroblast left. So what do you take? In my mind, the correct answer was Equine A, which is a tricky answer, but the reason being, well, you know, maybe it wasn't Equine A in hindsight. Maybe I should have taken like a brainstorm or something, but I don't know actually. It could have been brainstorm actually, now that I think about it. Because yeah, see, this is the thing, like Storm is so tricky in the sense like you have lots of decisions, but if I take brainstorm here and then I go first aid class, they're gonna dispel it, probably. Then I go first aid class again, it resolves. Then I go Shadow Storm, they get Wind Hay, and then post combat I play the other Shadow Storm and say, oh hey, top get an answer, and if they don't, they die. But to me, that does give them an out. So I guess both of these do give them an out. However, if huh, I think my thought process here was if I take the Atwin Hay, I still have a Pyroblast site in draw, and what I can do is I can Pyroblast the Rainstorm if they play it, but it's like I'm so certain they were going to dispel my first day of class. That I took the Atwin Truth, or the Atwin Hay, I mean, but I think maybe in hindsight, the correct hit here was Rainstorm. Because Rainstorm gives them like so many just lightning outs, like Pyroblast, or no, like at-range roofs and stuff like that. I actually think it might have been Rainstorm in hindsight. Yeah, that's the thing about, like, these replays is, like, sometimes you get to kinda relive and think about it from an new angle. Um, I should note, like, this was the semifinals, and it was definitely a drawn-out tournament for me. I was kind of, like, tired at this point, but I think maybe the correct play here is to take, uh, the Brainstorm. I guess I don't know, I guess it depends. It's like, if I first day class and they let those go, I might find the Pirate Blast, and then I can fight over it. I don't know. I'm not even 100% sure if the Brainstorms are at play. You can debate me in the comments. This would actually be an interesting decision point, but I put that one okay. It's not that was my bit here. And I left them with this. So then I play first day of class, they dispel. I play first day of class. I get Introduction to Prophecy. I play Introduction to Prophecy. And I see Silent Blood, which is fine, and Pirate Blast. So I top, take the Pyro, late Shadowstorm, and at this point, they just have a Brainstorm in hand, so it's pretty trivial. But you could honestly make the argument that they shouldn't just let both of them resolve, or what they should have done is they should have just brainstormed in response to the first copy of First Aid Class. Um, that is also an argument that could be made. Um, so, all in all, I don't even know if I play. Like, you have to think about how your opponent would play this, and I don't know. Forming is tricky. In the end, it all works out. But there were definitely a lot of tight spots here that, I could have probably played better. So here they brainstorm my pyro, they're just dead. But all in all, I don't even know if I played those last couple of turns correctly. This is pretty net. This is pretty net. I know a lot of people hate Storm and they want it banned, and I totally understand that, but there are some really deep decisions to be made with it. So yeah. All in all, that was the semis. Game 2 was very interesting. Game 1 is kinda indicates, once again, think about what your hand is capable of and all that, but, yeah, game 2 was crazy. I really thought I might have lost this one for a while. I was very happy to win it, but I really thought I might have punted that last turn, and maybe I did, and my opponent just punted back, I'm not sure, but it was definitely a close one, and I'm glad I won it, but it was definitely stressful for sure. So, yeah, that was the storm match, and or the semifinals of the storm match, and yeah, that's for the finals. So we're here for the finals. Um, I'm not gonna show game one or game two because I think those games were pretty boring. Game one at his steamrolled, I killed him very quickly. Game two was actually interesting in the sense that it was drawn out. It was he played like 6 hand disruption effects on me in like the first like 8 turns, so you would, like, turn 1 to rest, turn 2, like, nothing, and you're like, has to eat to rest, has to eat divest, and, like, you just ripped apart my hand, but it was so very close. In fact, the turn I almost went off, if he had not drawn the card he drew, and he drew, like, a dead card or something, I would have won. Game 2 was actually surprisingly close, but, uh, it wasn't super interesting because it was just a lot of waiting, and it was a very long game, and he had a top nets out of it. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I've been very lucky myself this tournament, but like, you know, there wasn't a ton to say past that one turn, and it was just a very long match that I think to me it's better to summarize it than to sit through and watch it. So apologies for that. But yeah, game 3 was interesting. I'm gonna tell you how I boarded. I did not board in duress because I don't think it's super critical in this matchup. They're gonna be ripping apart my hand with Castigate and duress and divest and all this. That having my own hand disruption isn't gonna stop that. Right? Their hate in the matchup is permanent based. Cards like Crit Rats, Pestilence, Trespasser's Curse. The rest isn't very good against those, right? It can hit an equity decay, but we can still beat that. Um, so yeah, I still have to my main board duresses just for that, but Not very good. It's not very good otherwise. So, mostly just for that. And maybe you can snipe a hate card early on. In terms of how I boarded, I put out 2 ball rituals and a chromatic spear. I boarded in 2 copies of Seal of Fire for Red Rats and a Weather the Storm because Trespasser's Curse is kind of annoying. And Weather the Storm makes it so that I can gain a ton of life and then kill them anyways. Oh yeah, you need this card. It's a good one of. Once again, I don't like to overboard in these matchups, and, it kind of crazy, but game 3 was interesting. It was for all the marbles. So, this is my opener. Not a heap. Has a lot of good storm cards, but not a heap. And this hand's better. Now, here's the thing. I had this hand in the finals. You might think I'm crazy for that. But his deck is chock full of hand disruption. And based on what I saw at game 2, which was him going, this artifact, this artifact, this artifact, this artifact, I would not want to mull the 5. I don't want to mull the 5. I already mulled the 6. He's going to have a lot of hand disruption. Mulling the 5 seems like a bad idea. Especially if he just goes turn 1 to rest. Like, not great. So instead, I opted to just keep a hand of 6. So that way I can see more cards. And I can just keep hitting land drops. Because these games are very long. Game 2 was very, very long. It was drawn out. Game 3 is going to be the same way. I might as well just hit my land drops along the way. He can't take those away. Let's keep this, and what do I bottom? First day of class. That's right. Sounds crazy, but in my mind, I don't hate it. I might need that for like a combo turn. I might draw my entire deck and want to save it for later. I don't want him to discard it. And you can see he had turn 1 to rest. So I don't want to I don't want to give him the option to take that away from me. And I can play out my mana as I need to. And so here you can see I have it Shatter Storm. I thought about maybe going Shatter for 2, but that's stupid. And I'd rather he just discard it anyway. So I don't really want to waste a star or anything like that. So he plays with Red Rat, which we were aware of. I know out of the first day class, and he does not have a lot of hand disruption this go around, which isn't that good for him, but it's good for me. But at the same time, like, I'm playing it slow. And my hand here is very good. If he's gonna duress me here, he'd probably take Scalonic Relay if I had it, yes, but he just doesn't have anything. So here, I think to myself, let's just cycle this with Rain and see what I draw. I draw probably the best card in a mass for, which is just a draw 2. So I think, okay, let's go for it. I'm gonna Silent Blood myself, I'm gonna draw more cards, I'm gonna Metamorphose, draw more cards, I'm gonna Metamorphose, draw more cards, I'm gonna play a Peatbot, I'm gonna play a first day class here. I just discard a land because I don't really need it. I'm gonna play a Dark Ritual, and I'm gonna play a Shatter Storm, and then I play Yamatic Relay to draw 8. So I think I played this pretty well. I was patient, I got my draw 8 off, and you can see here I have some draw 2s, I have Silent Bloods, and the best part of all is I have a ton of mana. So I don't have to worry about the fact that I didn't really exile much mana, right? I don't have to worry about that. And the best part here is I can attack, and I kind of figured they were going to decay me, because if they're playing out both rats, they're not going to play one out knowing that, if I win a combo, they'd have to lose both of them. They're going to play them both out because I have an equity decay, right? Like, that's just the bottom line. Um, I've done that before in Affinity, where I went out both my Heartland Shamans, because I don't want to play, like, Introduction to Annihilation 1, and then just heal me. I want to run out both, so that way they have to deal with both of those and the Atwing Decay in my hand, or the Atwing Truth in my hand, if I'm on Affinity. It makes sense. It looks weird, but it makes sense. So, sometimes it can backfire, but, sometimes you just have to do it. You have to overload their abilities to do anything, so yeah. Here I cycle, and the ball was pretty annoying because it shut up my ball rate, but you kind of have to accept that. So here I start going off little by little. I'm trying to fill up my graveyard so that way the ball rate can kind of keep it going. And I have enough land to play that I'm not too worried about that. So here I interest them taking their other Atwing Decay, and at this point I'm feeling pretty good. I come all right, I Silent Blood, I hit a Weather the Storm, and another Yamatic Relay, which is amazing. I play a Seal Fire, I crack the Star, I draw a Night Whisper, I kill one of the Rip Rats with the Seal of Fire, I play, the introduction to, for the first 8 class. Here, I think I made a mistake, which is that I got the introduction to Annihilation. I think maybe what I should have done is just gotten, like, introduction to Prophecy, because the top net I had was weapon spell, it would take this, and then I can't deal with the Rip Rats. But at the same time, if I don't draw a first 8 class, I might want to have this in my hand. I don't know. It's a close call, but I think in hindsight, it was probably correct to take the introduction to Annihilation, because I'm not going to play it this turn. But here, I just play Weather, so that way I don't die randomly. And then I just play Yamato Relay. And here I was fortunate enough to exile a seal, so it doesn't matter. Um, because, like, now they have no top net. If they top net a Pestilence, I can annihilate it and then sealify the Crit Rats, and they're in it, Um, but yeah, there's just nothing they can draw. It played IMS, it misses. So once again, had this been at duress and I didn't hit the seal, I could have lost. So that was kind of stupid of me. But it doesn't matter in this case. It worked out, and you can see here I was on it. Rite of Flame. Lotus Metal, Sat, Lotus Metal, first hit, last seal, fire, yeah, Shadow Storm. You don't kill them. It doesn't matter. They're dead. And yeah, that was that. I won the finals. It was a split, but we played it out for the glory, and yeah, I won the challenge. All in all, this was a really sweet challenge. I'm very happy I won it. I feel like I played it pretty well overall, and yeah, that's it. Let's hop back to sort of the recap, and I'm also going to talk about what I think needs to happen in Pauper, and we'll take it from there. Alright, so we're back for the recap. So, that was my challenge. That was my first place in the Pauper challenge with Storm. Very nice to get that result, especially for the history books. I can kind of say, hey, I was there, I did well with Storm and Pauper. It's a good thing to kind of be able to, reflect on and say, yeah, I did do that. That was sweet. But with that being said, let's close it and then bring it back up real quick. Shadow Storm needs to go. As much as I enjoy Storm, and I do like playing this deck, it gets very boring after a while, especially when the meta game becomes this inbred, and it's not healthy. It's just not healthy. Pauper's not a format that is well equipped to deal with Storm. Um, you saw some of the games I won. I thought there was a ton of hate, and I still was able to win. This is not something that needs to be Pauper, and I think they should get rid of Shadow Storm. Now, in my opinion, I also think the Amount Relay probably should go as well. Um, I don't think they'll do it. I think they'll just ban Shadow Storm. But my fear with Relay is that when we saw Shadow Storm in action early on, it was not playing Relay, and it was not putting up results. But the second people took Relay and put it in the Storm Shell, it became really, really good. Like, it took it from 0 to hero. And I think this card is dangerous to have in the format, because we are just 1 or 2 cards away from this being a problem again. And if it can make Shadowstorm from mediocre to insane, you gotta have to wonder what else it can do. And I think a card like this is dangerous in Pauper. Even though it might not be broken right away. I think you are just kind of playing with fire, and there's potential for it to become broken. Despite the fact that I really enjoy playing the card, and I think it creates an interesting dynamic, and I think the games it makes are sweet, it's just too risky, is the bottom line. And I don't think it's a good thing to keep format. So, I would ban both of them. I would ban Shatterstorm, and I would ban Yamana Relay. I've heard people say just ban Shatterstorm. Once again, I think that is playing with fire. I've heard people say, oh, just ban Relay, then Storm can exist in the format. That is also a bad idea, because people can still randomly die on turn 1 or turn 2 off at Shatterstorm, and that is not fun for anyone. So don't allow that to exist either. I think you have to do both. Even though I really do like Relay, I think it's too dangerous, and you should just not risk it. I mean, my point of view is, if it's taking them this long to deal with Thunderstorm, a card that is very obviously broken from day one, how long do you think it would take them to ban something else that's not as obvious, but it could still be as problematic? So, I would probably ban Relay out of caution. In terms of Affinity, I don't know. I do think something needs to be banned from Affinity, but I do not know what that something is. With that being said, after the bans, I think the format is going to go back to one where Tron is probably top dog, Honor is probably good, and then you have Cascaders at the top. Affinity might exist, but it depends on what they do, or if they do anything. And it's bittersweet to me, because I would really like it if they banned more things and opened up the format. And this was just me putting my own opinion out there. But I would love it if they banned Tron and they banned Monarch. And maybe like Monarch Ornament. Now, is that going to happen? Of course not. But I think it would make Pauper more interesting. Um, Monarch is a mechanic that I'm really sick of, and I'm not a really big fan of it. Um, I think in 1v1 games, especially in a format like Pauper, it's pretty miserable. And I'm not really excited to go back to Pauper after the bans. I think it would be really nice if they just said, you know what, we're gonna ban all the Monarch cards, we're gonna ban all of Tron, get rid of that stuff, you know. Just see what happens. I think, you can make the format really interesting again. Um, but I don't know. I think that I think it's one of those things where it's not gonna happen, and what's more realistically going to occur is that or just go back to the previous format where Fairies is very good, where Crown is very good, Cascade Stuff is very good, and I don't know. I know people were definitely kind of bummed out about that format, and they were hoping that Modern Horizons would shake it up, and it did, but definitely in kind of a monkey paw-esque fashion that I don't think is very healthy, but still, it would be nice to shake it up. I think people really like Ruined Pauper. I like Ruined Pauper especially, and it's difficult when that's sort of the baseline. Right, when it's like, "Oh no, another project. Yes, I can't win," or "Oh no, a fairies net with modern. Well, I'm probably not gonna win this one either," and it's kind of boring. It would be nice if those two nets kind of got weakened a little bit, and maybe, we put modern tournament too, just so that way the Cascade nets don't get it, because I think the Cascade nets are probably gonna be pretty good if we don't do something from them, but I don't know. It's definitely way too early to call for that, so I understand why it's not going to happen, but I don't know. It would make the format more interesting, and um, I don't know. It would just be a nice change of pace, but it's probably not going to happen. It is what it is. But until then, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content, and I am hopeful that Storm will go eventually. I just don't know when, but I sympathize with all of you that the format would drastically improve with Storm gone. Until that happens, keep storming, I guess, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.